Chapter 4, Through the Passage. Is he dead? Asked Agatha hoarsely. No, said Samantha. I think he's unconscious. The Admiral's eyes were still closed. What will we do now? Wailed Agnes. Samantha didn't want the twins to see how afraid she really was. She tried to act as if she knew just what to do. Well, she said, the first thing we have to do is to make him comfortable. Let's get him over to that rock where we ate lunch. But trees will give us a little shelter from the rain. We'll have to drag him. Agnes took one of the Admiral's arms, and Samantha took the other, very slowly, pulling with all their strength. The girls moved the Admiral over to the flat rock by the pool. The Admiral groaned, but he did not open his eyes. He needs a doctor, said Samantha. We've got to get him back to Piney Point as fast as we can. But how can we even get him to his boat? Asked Agnes. He's too heavy to carry or drag all that way. We'll have to help him walk, said Samantha. She put her cold hand on the Admiral's forehead, then she shook his shoulder. Admiral, can you hear me? Slowly he opened his eyes. Samantha and the twins gently helped him to sit up. Then Samantha put one of his arms over her shoulder. Agnes took his other arm, and together they lifted him so that he was standing. He swayed for a moment, but then he steadied himself. Lean on us, Admiral, said Samantha. We're going down to the boat. The Admiral didn't say anything, but Samantha heard him take a deep breath. He tried to stand up straighter. His arm was heavy on Samantha's shoulder. Agatha gathered up all the packed baskets and led the way down to the shore. Agnes and Samantha struggled behind her, holding on to the Admiral's waist to steady him. The narrow path was slippery now because of the rain. Agnes and Samantha had to push wet branches out of the way with their free hands. That's it, that's good, Samantha murmured with every step. You're doing fine, Admiral. Not much farther now. The Admiral had left a lighted lantern in his boat. They headed toward it in the darkness. When they finally reached the boat, they helped the Admiral swing his legs over to the side and lie down on the bottom. Samantha took a napkin from her pack basket, dipped it in the cold lake water, and laid it gently over the bloody cut on the Admiral's forehead. The girls covered him with their picnic basket blanket to help keep him warm. Girls, the Admiral began, but his voice trailed off to nothing, and he closed his eyes again. All right, said Agatha in a wavery voice. Let's go. The three girls shoved the heavy rowboat into the water. The twins jumped in and sat side by side on the middle seat, each one taking an oar. Samantha knelt in the front, holding the lantern to light the way through the rain. The Admiral's boat was much bigger and harder to handle than the canoe. The twins had to struggle against the wind and the choppy waves that slapped beside the boat, but they rowed slowly and steadily until they came to the narrow part of the lake where the rocks broke through the water. It's too narrow to row in here, exclaimed Agatha. Use your oars to push off from the rocks, shouted Samantha. The bottom of the heavy old boat scraped against rocks that were hiding beneath the water. On either side, boulders poked up out of the water like dark monsters. Push right, cried Samantha. Then right again, hard. It was probably like this the night my parents drowned, Samantha said to herself. The boat rocked wildly from side to side, knocking against the boulders. Water splashed into the girls' faces and drenched their clothes. It was probably like this the night my parents drowned, Samantha said to herself. She shivered. Behind her, the Admiral stirred and groaned. We've got to get through this passage, Samantha thought. We've got to get the Admiral back to Piney Point as soon as we can. Suddenly, the boat stopped with a hard thud. We're stuck, Agnes wailed. The front of the boat was caught between two big rocks. Samantha stood up and pushed against one of the rocks to get the boat free. She pushed so hard she lost her balance and almost tumbled out into the water. She steadied herself, pushed again, and finally the boat was free. Quick! Everybody push hard to the left, Samantha yelled. After one more push, they were out of the narrow passage, headed into the wide black lake. They had no time to catch their breath. The twins began to row again. They hunched over the oars, trying to keep the rain out of their eyes. They rowed as hard as they could, on and on, through the stormy darkness, across the lake that seemed as huge and endless as the ocean. Lights! Samantha shouted at last. I see lights! It's Piney Point! The twins twisted around to look at the welcome sight. In the main house at Piney Point, every lamp was lit. There were lights on the dock, and lights bobbing in boats on the water. Grandmary! Uncle Gard! Samantha yelled. Help! She waved the lantern back and forth and blew on her buzz's whistle again and again. Some of the lights seemed to be coming closer. I think they see us, she called to the twins over her shoulder. I think they're coming. She waved the lantern over her head. Over here! Over here! She shouted. Out of the dark, she heard Uncle Gard call, Samantha! And suddenly, there he was in another boat alongside of them. Samantha! He said again. Catch this rope. Tie it to the front of your boat. I'm going to haul you in. Hurry, Uncle Gard, Samantha said. We've got the Admiral with us. He's hurt. Uncle Gard tossed a heavy wet rope to Samantha. She tied it to the front of the rowboat as well as she could. All right, she called. With a jolt and a thump, Uncle Gard's boat began to pull them toward Piney Point. The boats moved quickly, and in no time, they were at the dock. In the jumble of voices and lights, Samantha didn't even know who lifted her out of the rowboat. Be careful, she said, and the men began to move to the Admiral. He's hurt. Watch his head. And then Grandmary was hugging her so hard she could barely breathe. Oh, my dear, murmured Grandmary. She smoothed Samantha's hair away from her face. Oh, my dear, thank God you're all right. Together, Grandmary and Samantha climbed the steps up the hill. Samantha's legs were wobbly. She leaned against Grandmary and followed the path of light to the main house. At last, she and the twins and the Admiral were all safe. Later on, the three girls were sitting in front of the fire in the big room in the main house. Cornelia had given them all hot baths, rubbed them dry, and wrapped them in blankets. They sat quietly, sipping their cocoa, watching the doctor take care of the Admiral. You're a lucky fellow, Admiral, said the doctor. He wrapped a clean white bandage around the Admiral's forehead. It's a good thing these girls got you home so quickly. This cut could have been very serious. How did it happen? Well, said the Admiral, when I saw the storm coming up, I set out to find the girls. They weren't on the lake nearby, so I knew they'd gone through the passage. I had a bit of a time getting past those rocks in the rowboat. The rocks in the patches are terrible, said Grandmary, especially in a storm. Her face was pale. The Admiral squeezed her hand to comfort her, then went on. Once I was through, I heard your whistle, Samantha, but I saw your canoe. It was partly sunk in the water near Teardrop Island. I suppose you didn't beach it properly. The girls hung their heads. I realized you were stranded on the island, so I hurried to help you. I landed my boat and jumped out, but I slipped on the rocks and hit my head. After that, I don't remember much. I think I tried to find you. The next thing I knew, you were helping me into the boat, and then we were home, safe and sound at Piney Point. The Admiral sat up in his chair as if it were a throne and his bandage were a crown. I'm proud to know you girls, he said. He patted Samantha on the hand. You really saved the day, young lady. Grandmary sighed. I was so worried about you, all of you, she said. I was so afraid. It was just like the night, that awful night. She shook her head. Samantha had never seen her grandmother look so weary. I'm sorry we frightened you, Grandmary, she said. I didn't mean to. I just had to go to Teardrop Island. I had to see the waterfall. The Admiral patted Samantha on the head. You really saved the day, young lady. You remember the waterfall? Grandmary asked. She looked surprised. No, answered Samantha. I didn't remember it. I saw it in this book. She pulled the sketchbook out from the folds of her blanket. What are your sketchbook? Said Uncle Gard softly. I haven't seen that in years. Not since. He didn't finish his sentence. Samantha handed the book to Grandmary. I didn't remember anything about Teardrop Island. I didn't know I had ever been there with my parents until I saw this book, she said. That's why I had to go there today. I wanted to see the waterfall and all the places on the island we used to go. I wanted to try to remember what it was like when we all went there together as a family. Grandmary stared down at the book in her lap. You and your parents had many happy times on that island, she said. You were right to try to remember. It all looks exactly the same, Grandmary, Samantha said. Everything on the island is just as pretty as it is in my mother's drawings. It's a beautiful, happy place. I'd like to go back again. She looked up at Grandmary. Maybe you'd like to come with me sometime. Perhaps I will, Grandmary said softly. Perhaps I will. Happy Memories of Teardrop Island. Sketches and Watercolors by Lydia.